All right, and my panel is now complete as we discuss young legislators in tray, the most pressing business that they are expected to deal with, their expectations, and of course the training, the induction conference that they're still a part of. I'm told it's still on today, and they'll be heading there after this program. Let me introduce them to you one more time. I'll start from the far right there. We have Peter Salasia, MP Mumias East, joining us on the program. Karibu sana.
Asante.
We also have Jerry Minor, Woman Rep Kirinyaga. Welcome and karibu sana.
Thank you.
We have Arnold Maliba, who's a public policy analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And Gigi Kagombe, MP Gatondo South. Welcome to the program as well.
Thank you very much.
Good. So it's been a busy week for all of you. Salasia, let me start with you. You've been at that induction at Safari Park. How has it been?
The induction has been good. At least we have learned a lot. We always start at almost around 9, and we always leave at almost 9 at night.
My goodness.
So it's a lot of work happening there.
What are some of the key takeaways? What do you now understand even more about your role that you may not have understood before?
Okay, like the deep challenges maybe in the government agencies, how they are collaborating, maybe the lawmakers, executive, where they connect and all that. Some of the bills, Nini, there's a lot that we have learned.
And you're still continuing?
And we are still continuing to learn more and more.
Mukoshule.
Yeah.
Jerry, how has it been for you? And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a learning experience for me. We've been taught on how to draft bills. We've been taught on petitions. Been taught on the committees, the setup of parliament basically, the different committees that are there and what this does, so that once we now resume or rather start sessions actively, we are able to legislate and ensure that we represent our people and meet the mandate. Okay.
How is that mix of MPs from different backgrounds, some who are veterans doing 4 or 5 terms, others who've just started? Has there been chances to bond? Are you getting along? Give us insights into that.
It's been quite interesting from my perspective, because I've had a chance to speak to the veterans and to be able to at least get a view of them from the inside of Parliament. Sometimes I think looking from the outside, it looks different. But once you get the experience of someone who has been there, someone who has experienced or rather been actively participating in the dealings of the House and all the issues surrounding these. I've seen today on Daily Nation, there's a sensational headline that, you know, the greed of MPs. So I think for me it has been first-hand.
Why sensational? That's what many Kenyans feel this morning.
I feel it's a bit from the inside. Right? It's a bit different, because at the end of the day, I can assure you that we're all committed to deliver the mandate to Kenyans. And I think this issue of the payment or the PACs has been belabored. It's been extended. It's like, this is what is selling, so let us push the narrative. But people, that is not what, as MPs, feel that is important. There's so many other pending issues. You know, we have the state of the economy. We have other things we want to discuss. So at the end of the day, it is from the outside. But looking from the inside, it's a very different view.
Okay. I'll come back because I want to hear details about that closed-door meeting. Because a 6-hour, or is it 4-hour, 6-hour closed-door meeting, that doesn't sound like a small issue. It sounds like something MPs are very keen to get clarity on. But Arnold Maliba, let me get your views. The in-tray, the expectations of these young legislators. From where you sit, what does that look like?
Actually, Higgs, you look on the set today, and I think literally the whole studio, all millennials. So relatively, we come off as young people. You know, when we were young, we used to look at the other guys who were in our age bracket and they looked like wazee and our baba. Now we are here, now we realize that we are actually young. And those people we used to judge and think they were old, we really need to apologize to them. So as we continue, actually in this particular parliament, I think almost 40% of them are millennials. Those are people who were born anywhere between 1980 to 1997. And we are now at a place where I normally say, you know, when we were young reading the Bible in Sunday school, we spoke about the children of Israel having fought the Amalekites, children of Israel crossing the Red Sea, and and then of course we would joke and say, where were the adults of Israel? So millennials must actually come to a point where they realize that they are no longer the young people of this country, but the people of this country. Why do I say so? Because the group that we call millennials are 31% of the generation that we have today. But then the generation, what we call Generation Zers, these Jamas who were born after 1997, have slightly overtaken us in percentage. The only challenge is that they are not in the age of majority, as in they're not 18 and above. They're about 32%. But then, of course, we, the millennials, constitute the biggest backlog of the voters. So, of course, for the young MPs who are coming in, a number of things that are obvious. Since the year 2002, the demonstrations you've seen in the streets after every election has been about civil society demonstrating against Parliament, for example, quote unquote, trying to increase their perks and allowances. Then, of course, we must get to a place where we have to ask. Of course, this particular time, the attrition was very small. There were not so many who actually went home. And like in the past where we used to have up to 67%. So probably we've been getting it wrong. We need to actually say if the answer, or rather the reaction is the same for whoever comes in, probably the view we have as outsiders, like she just said, that once you get in and you look at things, you look at it differently. The speaker, do we call them right honorable nowadays, like we used to do in the days of old? Senator Wetangula spoke of MPs being everything. And I've run for office myself, so I know that literally even just declaring that you are running, you become the solution general for the entire society. Even after you lose, people still reach out. So as they speak about these things, I think the reality dawns on them once they are there. And our politics is very expensive, so you do not expect things to actually change very fast. Probably we need to change the way we look at this particular issue. And I also think SRC is quite sneaky in that they waited until Parliament was, quote-unquote, not in session. When they went on recess, then they came up with all these new reviews, right? So you bring me into a race with certain expectations, and then midway you change the rules. So they come in here, and then they make the new team that comes in to look like it's greedy. And of course, the media sticks to the old. Gigi and myself, plus yourself, of course, have worked in the media in the past. So we know there's that old media mantra that if it bleeds, it leads. So anything that looks like it will actually raise emotions, we put it out there to lead. So.
But to be fair, yeah. I think the media has good reason to question, first of all, why these meetings have been closed door. Every other meeting has been open for the public, the session with the central bank governor, the session with many other leaders. But this particular meeting, journalists are told, leave us alone. This is a private meeting. Of course, as media, we want to let Kenyans know what was discussed in that particular meeting.
Can I ask you a question, just before Gigi comes in?
Yes.
Are you able to say on TV how much you earn?
Myself?
Yes.
But my money is not from taxpayers.
Well, it is
not from taxpayers, Maliba. I will not buy that. I will not buy that. Let me allow Gigi Kagombe, because my money is not from taxpayers. Gigi Kagombe, go ahead, takeaways from that induction retreat as you tell us about this meeting that we are told the newspapers have misquoted exactly what happened.
So, first of all, thank you for having me here.
Aribu
and Asante Sana. Feels like a fresh breath of air to come back to Citizen. Always my home. Now, two things. One, my real learning from this is that people have got to respect Article 1 of the Constitution. People have to realize that the power, the sovereign power of this country, that they exercise, belongs to the people of Kenya. And how do people express their power? Through representation. And I know people want to make a lot of noise and say, oh, MPs. And that is why there's a lot of fight between members of parliament and the media and everybody else. I want to tell you something. The SRC has been in negotiations more than 16 times in this country with different people, with PSs, with CSs, with a whole list of 48 people between the president and where members of parliament rank in terms of remuneration. We rank number 46. But you're not interested in this, all these other people who fall between number 1 and number 46 in terms of remuneration. But because you have interacted with members of parliament and because we come and sit here, you're so interested in us. You have not wanted to interrogate how much does a PS earn? What is the negotiation with them? Why does a PS use 2-3 cars of public payers' money and they are fueled by the Republic? Why does a CAS, and how much does a CAS earn? what are the perks that are CAS? Why do we pay for the house girls and watchmen of CASs and PSs and a lot of other people in commissions and so many other people? I'm telling you, and I want you to make some, because I think it is wrong for people to be lazy and be rewarded be rewarded for laziness.
Is your issue with
that is one. I want to
accuracy of what we are reporting?
Yes.
Or the fact that we are reporting it.
The inaccuracy.
Okay, tell me where the inaccuracy.
No, the inaccuracy is we have met different directorates and different arms of government in the last 1 week, right? And we met the CBK, we met the Foreign Affairs people, we met the Kenya Police, we met Judiciary,
yes.
We met EACC. Even yesterday we met EACC, no big deal. There was no media coverage, no big deal. In fact, the meeting with the SRC was not even yesterday, for your information. It was the day before. And first of all, what we've been doing when we meet these people is to establish, you remember CBK said that there has been attempts to bring back golden bag into the country. And we wanted to find out from these people, what exactly are you ailing from? And you know, the reason we could not do this on the floor of Parliament is because, as it is, the standing orders which we have not amended do not allow such people to come to the plenary. That's why we even are at Safari Park, to allow this sitting. And we want to find out what are the real issues that we need to legislate on so that we enable you to work properly. You get? So we want to find out what does, how do we help CBK from these people who are saying that they come and have access to public money and they go and invest it for some time and then they buy the dollar off the market and then they increase the dollar, you know, such things. So we want to find out how do we come in and help. And that's the conversation we've been having. And the conversation we had with SRC, by the way,
which was closed,
just for your information, which was closed door. And even EACC was closed door yesterday, because we also realized that the media has been misusing their rights. And you see right now, I just had Sam Gituku reporting and saying exactly what transpired inside there. He was not there. That is hearsay.
Okay, so what happened
is exactly as a speaker and as a chair of the SRC, Lynn Mengich, reported on that day when they left to the media. We discussed the modality, and the biggest issue about remuneration is that we have a principle in HR that we say people shall get equal pay for equal quality of work done. Yeah? And so we're trying to ask, how do we synchronize? Because even other people, even not just about members of parliament, how do we make sure, and we talked about it, by the way, how do we make sure that we have compensated the police officer out there in the streets properly? Now that we changed how the police officer live, that some of them do not live in the police line, how do we make sure that when they are called to duty at night, that they have proper compensation for that? How do we relate the pay of a police officer and the pay of a teacher? How do we get to know exactly where? Because I think the parameters that SRC has been using previously to look at the salaries of everybody have not been properly put to place. Okay. That is what we're discussing.
I have a few more questions, but let Peter come in. Peter, is that what transpired in that closed-door meeting?
I think you asked a very good question, that why was it a door-indoor meeting? Yeah,
because we wouldn't even be having this discussion if it was publicly televised.
I think it was a very heated discussion because it was now all about talking about the reality. And I think being a first-time MP, we were there to learn and we are there to listen from the veterans. In fact, for such a meeting, the veterans are the only ones who are supposed to speak because we don't know. And I think because and I thank also the speaker. He was so specific. He wanted people who have the experience from the past. And for us, for somebody like me, I can't say that I want to be paid because this is my first time, and maybe I didn't spend a lot from the people because people just did mercy for me and said, let's just go and so I didn't want to. But now, from what I learned from the people, from what the veterans were speaking, I saw some kind of sense because, you remember what the Honorable Mbadi was speaking about. He said he joined the parliament in 2008, around there. the pay for the MP, it was around 800K and all that. But now you see, like, with the level of inflation and all that, it's still, in fact, it has been reduced from 800 to 710. And when it was saying that the house allowance they were coming, it was just being split from the 400 and something basic, then the house allowance, they just take, they just split. There was nothing changed about that. So from what I understood is that they are saying that MPs are at the same level with the judge or court of the president of court of appeal. If the allowances
stay with the court of appeal judge.
Yes. So you find like they were saying now, this person just comes from the office and goes back to there's no other, but when you, as an MP, you have a lot of responsibility. You have to go to the funeral, you have to support whatever you have to support. So where is the logic? And then they were saying like, now, you bring to us the money that we were campaigning, using to campaign. So they were like coming up with many issues. So I think...
what do you mean bring to us the money that was being used to campaign? Like refund us?
Yeah, refund. If you are saying that now,
money, you use, no one forced you to spend that money.
Yeah, so I think it was a very healthy discussion, and we hope maybe they're going to do there's 7 days that are there for review. Maybe she might have to look at it. But also, in terms, they're also trying to do politics with the issue of SRC. You see now, if you feel like the way the Muhesh has said, like, you know, look at the kind of the topic has been the headline, that one lady against the greedy MPs, right? You see, but it's not all about that. It's like you time these people when they are, and then you just come up with that, but there's nothing like...
But Jerry, do you see the concern of a constituent in Kirinyaga who not only has to grapple with everything else they've had to deal with, but just a few days ago, fuel prices rose once again, and they opened this and they realized that the person I sent to Parliament is very, very concerned about their, personal, what they'll receive in terms of salaries and allowances and so forth, but we haven't heard them as loudly on my personal issue. Can you see why your ordinary Kenyan would be concerned this morning?
I think, first of all...
Whether you feel SRC is unfair or not.
First of all, I want to issue a disclaimer. I have not been anywhere ramping up for the packs of members of parliament. And I also want to perhaps demystify the packs of members of parliament. I think we have the media pushing a narrative and saying this is how much they earn. I think they've quoted 10,000, right?
Excluding packs.
They've quoted that we have a mortgage of 35 million. Let me give you the details from the insides, right? If you can't take a mortgage of 35 million. If you take a max of around maybe 20 million, you're deducting around 407 to 410,000 from your salary. You're also paying tax to the government. So the 710, you've not deducted the mortgage, if you take a loan, you've not deducted the tax deductions from the government, you've not deducted the car loan if you choose to take a car loan. And I can assure you the social engineering that we have from a setup of our constituents is that the member of parliament, or rather a leader, is everything to them. So if someone does not have school fees, I am expected, rather it is expected of me, to get source for funds, either from my pocket or from wherever. My constituents do not understand that my mandate is limited to a certain capacity. If someone is unwell in my constituency and perhaps they are not able to cater for the medical bill, I am invited to partake in that. If someone has a social gathering, perhaps in my constituency we call them Rurasho, I am expected to partake in that. So we have expanded the role of a member of parliament, but then we want to limit how much they earn. And the question is, where do we get this money from? Okay?
I was going to ask
if my constituents do not expect it of me, right? Then I will not even have an issue with any discussions around how much I should earn or how much I shouldn't. So I believe it is something that should be had. It is a discussion we need to have, but also people should accept, the Kenyan people should accept that they have too much expectations of us. If the mayor role that we are constricted within is what we go to actually do in parliament, I can assure you, people do not have an issue with the money because we actually go there to serve. That is what, it is a calling. So for us, it's not about how much we earn, but as a society, understand that we have limits. If I do not send that money or contribution, they will think bad of me. They will think that I am a leader who does not want to cater for their social needs. So I feel that the media should partake in this and correct the way they are reporting, because I don't think, I remember there's a time there was a
What do you think we should be reporting this morning? What headline do you want to see?
I think you should be reporting that SRC and MPs are having a discussion on the parks that members
We
of
are told
parliament
it was
have.
more than
But you
a
say one woman against the greed of MPs. I mean, it's like we're just there waiting to harvest from the Kenyan people. We care about our people, we do. From the bottom of our hearts, we do, and we want to ensure that there is ease. But there's so much money that is lost in other avenues that even the media does not even push. And I think my colleague Gigi has said that, you know, we have never investigated how much PS is on, is it justified? How much CS is on, is it justified? The staff they have, is it justified? And at the end of the day, we are just bedeviling the members of parliament.
22 PSS, 22 CSS, 350 MPs. Is that
then we reduce the number of MPs if you want. We reduce it to 10. It is representation. We reduce it to 10.
Okay. I'll give you a chance. Malima, say something before we continue.
I just wanted to tell Mheshimiwa Njeri here that her disclaimer counts for nothing, because in a vampire society like ours, even if you came out and said...
Vampire society.
Yes, it is a vampire society.
What does a vampire society look like?
A vampire society, of course, is a society where people are in love with mauling those they presume to be up to bring them down. There's always that. We always fight what the guys we think are... celebrities. We are always in love. It's a society set up where the desire to bring down those we think that are a rank higher on the ladder is a pastime, a national pastime. So whether it doesn't matter, whether you do it or not, they'll be like, we are najipendekeza. So they'll still beat you up properly. Don't worry if it's on social media or elsewhere. But I needed to say this. But perhaps on the day we will have the chairperson of SRC who has been a member of parliament, probably it will be different. On the day we have got a chairperson of SRC who has been a teacher, then they probably will treat teachers differently. Sometimes we're extracting guys who are, and I'm sorry, I know somewhere in the back end we've got HR people. But we have got this traditional old, not even the HR way of doing things, but what we used to call in the days of old personnel managers. Who have got quite a rigid way of looking at things. SRC has actually been acting quite like a terrorist, not just to MPs, but even to teachers. See how they treat other public officers. You know, coming up with scales and setting up boundaries on what people should earn, sometimes without looking at what people really do. Looking at the elections, no, not the Employment Act 207, normally a landmine for the private sector. If you play around with somebody, like, for example, you're going to reduce somebody's salary, the Employment Act will not take that kindly. But SRC somehow has got a free hand to play around that, especially when it comes to public officers. And members of parliament, unfortunately, suffer from the notoriety syndrome, where they have been the bad boys of the public sector. So everybody else expects, even Peter Salesa, who came into parliament the other day, sent in by the people of Mumias East without necessarily asking anything of him. Immediately you are elected, somehow then you have to be grouped into them, the bad people. And then the rest of us who are good and are asking for accountability from these people. We are asking for accountability from our people who have not even started their job. Anyway, I just needed to say this very fast. That,
okay. What do you, since you've referenced him, he said something very interesting. He said, because I didn't spend too much on campaigns, I did not have expectations on my salary.
He's here, he can actually qualify his statement.
But now, when I listen to the big boys, I realize I need this money. What is changing for him? Because he says, the way I came, mimi niko sawa, yenye nitapata nitapokea, but now it's like he's being indoctrinated this is what you must earn.
You see the choice of your words,
to be comfortable.
The choice of your words, Higgs, in the first place, are quite, let me say, I don't want to use that word, but this is it. You know, experience, there is no alternative to experience. You can actually have the qualification from college, you can have everything else, but experience has no alternative. And therefore, when he sits down and tells you that I've listened to the veterans and then checked out, and I think they make sense. Peter Salasi has a head. He's gone to school. He's even been able to speak to the people of Mumias East without a shilling, and they've elected him. He definitely has got a head and a heart. If he listens and sees sense, by the way, you don't need to be a cook to know bad food. Therefore, if he listens from a veteran, he should be able if he can be trusted to go and represent people, he should be able to understand that they are making sense or not. We can't actually run around and actually just lynch these guys. Because somehow, like I've told you, let me ask you, since 2002, I have seen, and you can actually check back, the first demonstration in the streets has always been by the civil society protesting against, quote-unquote, members of parliament trying to increase their salaries. Since 2002, after every election, the first demonstration in the street has been about this particular issue. Even though we have had sometimes an attrition rate of about 67%.
Yes, that's right.
What changes? What changes? Why is it that we bring in people and they do the same thing? There is definitely something that happens in there, and that thing cannot, it should be very simplistic for us to actually say that it's greed. So for the guys who have been writing the panels, the editorial panels that write these headlines, they've been running around with the same headline. Why can't we do a day two story? Of course, you will know what a day two story is, and try to flip. Work with Mheshimiwa Njeri here, go with her to the ground. Just take a week. Go through her phone if she would allow you. And also try to see why, for example, and that is why for me, I actually have been against CDF. Even on this particular set, I still insist that CDF is illegal, MPs in whatever form, knowing too well that I've been a consultant on that process before. But I still feel that
they're not very happy with you.
It offends. It offends the very, very spirit of what these guys should do, because I believe that Parliament is the highest organ of governance. It is the national delegates conference of any country.
Okay.
That by definition, Parliament is the manifestation of a people as a government. So when Parliament sits, the people are sitting. So even the president, honestly, comes back to these guys, because the concept of representation is quite a difficult one to quantify. So these people have got all questions, and we have not talked about MCAs. Those are other people tunafinyilia huko chini. But because when they come up and speak, we say Emirates. These guys they've gone down there and they are doing everything else. I also think we are also bringing down the quality of leadership if we move into sloganeering. We blame politicians for sloganeering. But the media is also so good at sloganeering in that, have we flipped this issue and asked the other questions, listen to them without bias? But you see, immediately we are reporting about this, it is about greed and nothing else.
Okay, no, fair point. Let me hear from Gigi, who's been itching to jump in on this. Go ahead.
You know, first of all, we have two things here. We have a societal issue. And if you ask me, CDF is probably the most visible, when you drive around this country, CDF will be the most visible fund that you'll see. It is the one that you see fixing schools. It is the one that you'll see fixing police stations. It is the one that you'll see doing all those things, right? Where the member of parliament touches, because that is where the rubber meets the road. The member of parliament is the actually in a setting, like when I'm going to the constituency today, and I have a meeting of DCC, county commissioner, all the representatives of government, including education, county education officers. People don't know them. People know Kagombe is their member of parliament. That's the person they know. And therefore, the work, a member of parliament is an undertaker. I attend all burials like all priests. I attend schools when there are meetings. You're an undertaker, you're a caregiver, you're a medic, you're all those things in a constituency. And you know that, like Arnold says here rightly, you probably want to have a day with a member of parliament and know exactly what they go through. However, I want to find out very interesting stories. I see you say that you were kicked out of the media was kicked out of the session, but I'm seeing quotes here, quote unquote, of members of parliament who spoke on the plenary. So it means that you are not actually kicked out. You are inside there. The members of, because I'm seeing here someone saying, don't condition me to a vehicle that is at, and if you look at this story, it has so many.
What page are you referring to?
This is page 7. Look at page 7.
Of the Daily Nation.
Of the Daily Nation. Of the Daily Nation.
Okay.
He has quoted Wanjala.
You've not given us the headline. MPs harangue and threaten SRC boss for 6 hours overpay. That's the story you're referring to.
Yeah, exactly. That story. Yeah? If you look at the first column, at the last paragraph there's a quote from Babu Owino. On the second
that we are going to cut SRC's budget in half if they touch your allowances.
No, they say we have the yam and the knife. Why I don't read that part? We have the yam and the knife.
So how much? What is incorrect here? You are there. You people, you eyewitnesses.
So let me finish. Let me finish my story. What I'm saying is, That you see, first of all, don't lie to the public that you are not there, because how did these people get these quotes? So you are there. Yeah, so it's verbatim. So you are there. So don't lie to the public. These members of the media, for the state was inside there. So I need to make that clear to the members of the public first. So don't say that we kicked you out. Number two, I want you to know, why have you not said how much, if MPs were not satisfied with the 710, how much are they asking for?
There's a closed door meeting.
But how? Okay,
but so,
so you have
a few quotes
listen,
here and
listen. You have
a few quotes here.
You have the quote of. You have the, wait. Let's be. You know, it's,
so how much?
We are saying.
How much do MPs want? We are saying we must clarify.
Excuse me. We are going to fix this country. Sector by sector. We are first starting with the media. We first fix. You stop lying to the people. Then we come to parliament. Then to kuja kwa
I think
like that.
It's representation, legislation, oversight. I don't know about fixing, but carry on.
So I'm saying, no, as a society, we fix this story. So we first agree, we stop lying. So I know, if there was any member of parliament, if you have the quote of, we have the arm, you're saying of the quote of by Wanjala, I have 2 wives. There's another quote of, do not condition me to the vehicles. There's so many quotes. So I would know if there was any member of parliament who asked for a certain, increase this money from 710 to this amount, you would have quoted it. So I want to say this. I was elected on a bottom-up platform. And by the way, I'll be so honest. I would not go there to discuss my salary. By the way, what I'm asking SRC and the government and parliament to do is to make sure that our systems work. If our systems work, I would be overpaid by even getting 300,000 shillings. If the systems work and I'm expected to be in parliament to make legislation and not to go, right now as we speak, I will leave here, I'll first go to KU hospital. I have a constituent who has a bill of 704 from Kiamwangi. They have been unable to pay. I'm going to fix that. I have someone who wants to go to school at KMTC in Gatondo. They are waiting for me at my office in Gatondo. They have no school fees. I have so many needs that come, and at times even just the fact that you have to listen to them and get a solution for them, whether you're going to pay it or you're going to look for some money elsewhere, it just means we have a lot of issues in the structure of our government. And I'm saying, if we're able to fix these issues, for example, and allow me to go to CDF because we'll be talking about it again. Mm-hmm. If CDF worked, why then, if the Ministry of Education worked, why would I be giving anybody bursary? The Ministry of Education should have mapped the people who need school fees supplement or who need bursary and fixed that. Why would I be using CDF money to go and build a police station? The Ministry of Interior should have found that there's insecurity here and we need to do a police station and fix it. Why would I be going to build a class? The Ministry of Education should have fixed that. You get what I mean? Therefore, the member of parliament to sit in parliament, do legislation, and get to oversee these people and put them to task, to work. But what happens?
Were you aware of these realities when you applied for this job?
I was aware, and I came to fix. But I knew I could only fix it from parliament. And that is what we're going to do. Because we're saying this system needs to work.
Okay. And I have a few more questions, but I'm told we need to take a break briefly. Have you finished?
No, I had... Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give you 30 seconds. Go ahead.
So what I was saying is... and we need to move from this issue of SRC, because we have established that nobody actually asked for a certain amount, that we want this money to be increased from this money to this amount, yeah? And secondly, we have a societal problem. Yesterday we had the EACC, and what we talked about is that actually the boss of the EACC said that we are unable to fix this country because when he does his special, when he goes to the community, he realizes that the expectations are wild. Mm-hmm. And they're wild because our systems don't work. Okay. So we need to fix the system first.
Belabored that point. Maliba, you sound like you want to say something before you take that break.
Just very fast. I actually feel quite worried if Mheshimiwa Gigi says that no one asked for anything in that particular meeting. These are
I don't know whether to believe him or not.
No,
he told me everything Higgs, on page 7 is not...
Higgs, let me say this. Let me just send my point home.
Talasi, I'll come to you also.
If these are the people we have actually sent to Parliament to defend us, cannot ask for themselves what they want, then we should be worried. Honestly, these guys know their worth. They know their burden. They should be able to ask what they need and add tax on it. But they didn't ask for anything for themselves. How are they going to defend us? As in on that one,
but is asking for themselves defending Kenyans?
It's not wrong. What I'm actually trying to say is that
what kind of debt you know that we owe and the debt repayments that are due.
Maura, let's get this clear. There is nothing, utterly nothing that is wrong with you knowing your worth or the work that you're going to do. I do consulting. Sometimes you can actually get a client who tells you that this work can't go beyond this particular amount. But you know that you're the one who's actually going to do the grinding. So there is nothing wrong with MPs actually saying to the agency that actually does the regulation of payment that this is what we need for the work that we're going to do. There is nothing wrong with that. And they shouldn't be making excuses for that.
Okay. Yeah. Maliba, hold on there. Hold that point. Don't forget it. Okay. Let's take a short break. We are 10 minutes past the commercial break. Let's take that break. We come back. I'll read your feedback. I'll allow the other guests that I have here in studio to give their views on this topic. They say the front page of the dailies this morning isn't reporting exactly what happened. We're seeking clarity on Daybreak this morning. Stay with us. We'll be right back.